Welcome everyone to session number 198 of the Morning Journal. Welcome to Wednesday. Thank you for being here. Alexis Autumn Elf is in the house. We got Noble Ancient here as well. Just kind of taking in the vibes. I'm apologizing in advance for those of you who are looking at me. I don't know what to tell you. I had some problems with my camera, so let's just pretend like it's 1977 and you're watching an old news broadcast. Hey, it is what it is. The message will still be the same, hopefully. We got Aunt Capone in the building, off the rip. Good to see you, fam. We're going to start the conversation today with a little bit of a check-in. And, we're going to be thinking about improving the ways that we can improve our experience a little bit. Ways that we can make our days. And really, in doing so, kind of affirming our ability to do that. As much as we are subject to all the things that are going on around us, we also are empowered to make choices that can make things better. So this is about affirming some of those choices and bringing to mind some of the things that we can do to make our own day a little bit better. So, Tree is in the building. Welcome in. It's good to see you. All right. I just gotta pretend like I'm not in here. Let's get ready to pull up our first prompt. We're gonna check in. Jams has joined us this morning. Thank you so much for being here. All right, let me see. All right, Tree has thanked herself. So we're ready to get started. I know it feels like we're in a little bit of a time machine right now. So let's begin our conversation by examining a little bit about the recent past. Some things that we might have been experiencing in the recent past. So we're going to check in this morning with the prompt that you see in the background. Which emotions have you been experiencing the most lately? A lot of times our days, our weeks, our time falls into sort of themes. So there are things that we experience more than others. Some things we experience more than others. So when you think about your experience lately, what emotions have been prevalent in your experience? So, Enter a Nickname says, I am the blunt object against which power impels itself as epic reconstitutor. I'm feeling like that might have been tied to an earlier part of the conversation that I missed, or maybe not. Noble Ancient has been experiencing excitement and sincere happiness. Excitement and sincere happiness. I could dig that. So think about that that Stevie Wonder / Jodeci Lately. Y'all remember that joint? I'm not going to sing. I was about to sing a little bit of it, but I can't remember the words. If y'all put the words in the chat, I might sing the first couple lines of it. Do y'all know the song I'm talking about? So Dorfrey Dorf says, I've been experiencing stress, anxiety, and self-doubt. Abyssal Chicken says, frustration, exasperation, desperation. Mando is here. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. It's always great to see you. I like the little emoji in your joint. I like that I like the way you representing this morning, Mando. I appreciate it. Alexa says, I've been experiencing love and grief. Love and grief. Enter a nickname. My vibe is a deep appreciation of my innate uselessness. So, Tree's asking, well, what's an emotion called when I don't feel motivated at all? Maybe apathetic. Yeah. Pierce the Princess is here. Hello, Pierce the Princess. Thank you for joining us this morning and catching our early morning vibe. I think we met in Writer's Room. So I'm glad that you are up this morning and have a chance to hang out with us a little bit more. We're checking in on like what emotion you have been experiencing the most lately. So let us know what that is. All right, everyone, Jehovah Thickness is in the building. It's good to see you. So Pierce Princess says, I'm on an all-nighter, baby. I just been up. I just been up. Well, if you make it to the end of this, hopefully you'll have something that will make you rest well or be in a positive space. Tree says, I don't feel like editing this week. And it's already Wednesday. It's already Wednesday and you don't feel like editing. So Richard is in the house. You see me out here looking all sepia and hazy this morning. Looking like I know it look like you watching a VHS tape of me, but it's still me. I'm still here. So Britt says, the emotion I've been feeling lately is exhaustion. Dorfrey Dorf says, if you make it to the end of this, it'll be your first time. Hey, it's the first time for every team. For every team. Ice cream for breakfast. Let me ask you this, Britt. Did you eat the ice cream with the spoon? Or did you eat it with a fork? Because I think there's levels of breakdown. Okay, so you had a clean spoon. That's a win. So if you're gonna eat ice cream for breakfast, at least you had a clean spoon to eat it with, and that's good. There's a degree to which, there's levels of self-care. So Kaloli says, 2022 hit me with productive stress vibes as you prep for an event next Saturday. Okay. You got something on the horizon that has you kind of excited and amped up. So Kaloli, do you think that you thrive under that type of stress? Do you feel like that's something that is that's suited to your personality? I'm at the level of creative, excited anxiety. Yeah, for sure. there's nothing like the pressure of a time-bound performance, right? You know it's gonna happen. It's like ready or not. So there's no putting it off. You know it's gonna happen at a place and time. So, you know. So Pierce Princess says, I've been feeling claustrophobic. Closed in. Cheerio. Welcome in. Thank you so much for being here. So I'm wondering, Pierce Princess, what is it that has you feel so closed in? What is taking up so much? What's robbing you of space around you? So, Pierce Princess elaborates, I don't like the state I live in. Been here my whole life and I'm ready to leave and move to the state where my BF lives. All right. All right. How far of a move is that? So, Kaloli's got this event, been running for the last couple years. All right. Just wanted to make sure I saw what was going on for everyone. I think there's a lot of everybody's at different phases in different creative process, different creative projects. I know Tree is going into episode 6 and feeling the stress of a production deadline. Chloe's got a big event, that's an annual event that's coming up soon. Noble is coming up on a milestone for a gamer shop. You know, Brit's podcast has started. So, I mean, you know, everybody's got some interesting things going on. And when we have projects in different phases of completion, there's a lot of emotions that come into play that determine our ability to effectively give our best in these contexts. So, as deadlines move and as time moves, you know, we feel different ways. Sometimes it's the external things that kind of govern our emotional state. Sometimes it's just stuff that's going on inside of us, decisions that we've been delaying or whatever the case may be. So I think it's a great way to check in. Oh man, it's like the guys playing this must be Ethiopian. Well, I don't know where they're from. It's the El Flaco Collective. So Britt says, I've been delaying Twitch streams until you fully recovered. Yeah, for sure. I know that you weren't expecting to already have the baby here. Now the baby's here and you gotta figure out what to, gotta shift things around. So Tree says, I think I'm challenging myself way too quickly. I have more ideas that I'm overwhelming myself. That's an interesting perspective, feeling overwhelmed. The weight of the ideas. Ideas are funny. I think ideas are elevated in terms of course you need good ideas. Of course there's things that you can do. And I think that we are sometimes too precious with them, though. Sometimes we are too precious with our ideas, like, this is going to be the one, or I can't let any of these go, or, they're not going to be, if I don't do this right now, it's never going to happen. There's an urgency that comes when the creative process, especially in the beginning when you got a lot of stuff that you want to get done, and you just get kind of caught up in the whirlwind in the excitement of all of the early parts of the creative process. So I can definitely relate to where you are right now, Tree. Dorothy says, with my Etsy business, I feel a lot of self-doubt, but I've been procrastinating because of fear of failure. So one of the things that we talked about yesterday was fear of success. You think it might work, you think it might not work, and that wouldn't be good, but sometimes having it work also creates some challenges. So Britt says, I don't know how long I'm going to stay in here. I could dig it. Sometimes, some days are better than others for you in terms of where you are. So if you, need to duck out, take care for some things, get some rest, it's always great to have you for however long you are able to stay. Chino is in the building. Good morning, Chino. Let us know, what emotions have you been experiencing lately? So we have some excitement, we have some overwhelm, we have some exhaustion and frustration. All these different things have been themes for some of us over the course of the last little while. And sometimes it's hard to measure how long these phases go. Sometimes when you are kind of in a cycle of a specific type of feeling, it feels like you've been feeling this way forever. But everything passes. Like whatever, that's just kind of the nature of feeling and emotion, is that they pass. They give way, I guess you can say, to other things. So I think that starting with this conversation kind of gets us in tune on a high level of what our current experience is. And I think that, it's going to be a good session today in terms of untangling some of that, hopefully for some of you. Kaloli says, I've been talking about a business for years now, but my perfectionist brain won't let me start. How about that? I struggle with that as well. There are a lot of things that I'm slow to get into because I feel like it needs to be perfect. All right. I says, hurry up, you got to do it. Said, just start it, then you'll be in my position. Oh, man. Okay. So let me do this needlework first. Let me divert my attention to something else so that I don't have to face that thing that I said I wanted to do. That sounds like a good strategy. Let's do that. Let's build a whole new life. Oh, man. So Aunt Capone chimes in terms of the experience you've been experiencing. The feeling or emotion you've been experiencing lately is confusion. Aunt Capone's like, I'm perplexed. All right, so let's take a look at the next question. I think a lot of times we feel things like confusion and we feel like we don't have the answers, But let's start thinking about, if you've been experiencing something good, how can you get more of it? And if what your experience is something that you wouldn't prefer, like what would you rather it be? What would you like to feel about what it is that you are doing right now? So if you're feeling overwhelmed, what would you prefer to feel? What would you like to experience more of? And I think sometimes we overcomplicate things, or we underestimate the power in stating clearly what it is that we want to experience. Because I think verbalizing and articulating it is a powerful first step. It's not a guarantee, but it's an affirmation of what it is that you would like to have, what it is that you're working towards. And I think it's a great place to start, because when you say the thing that you want to experience, then sort of what happens is it kind of sets up a filter in your memory, and it sets up a filter as you look out into the world. The brain kind of works that way. The mind kind of works that way. Once you bring something to its attention, it starts looking for it. So, Abyssal Chicken says, something I would like to experience some more of is respect. It would be easier to get traction in my life if more people respected others on principle. So when you say you want to experience more respect, is it because you experience personally disrespect towards you specifically? Chino says, I would like to experience getting on my feet again. On your feet. Noble says, I would like to experience accomplishment, solidly productive. Abyssal says, it's pretty general, just little regard in the working world for others' well-being. Okay, I can get that. So I guess the only thing inside of that experience, like you notice where that's missing, probably the work for you is to just be intentional in demonstrating it in the areas where it's, impossible, where it's possible for you to act, and celebrating it when you see it. A lot of times we have to quietly model. We don't necessarily recognize how much power we have in some interactions. And sometimes just by quietly modeling and setting an example, it can subtly begin to shift the environment around you. So I guess if we don't allow the disrespect that we notice in our environment to cause us to despair and fall into the crowd, then maybe there is sort of hope of shifting the culture around you. I'm not talking about the whole world. You might not be able to do a lot there, but in the circle of interactions that you engage in every day, there might be a way that you can model that and carry that. So B is here and has liked the live. Thank you, B. I really appreciate that. So we do have, sorry. All right, I apologize for coughing in your ear. So yeah, we do look for, we do have the ability to look for ways that in the circle of influence that we have, however specific it might be, we have the ability to look for ways to model what we want to see. You know, that whole saying, be the change or that you want to see in the world. We want to model the things that we want to create in our experience. The degree to which we attract what we are. I think that's true a lot of the times. We attract what we are. So if there's something that you want to experience, that you want to draw into your experience, then, you know, a lot of times it's about how you are being. If you are overwhelmed and you would rather not be overwhelmed, specifically, what is it that is the opposite of that? You know? What is creating that experience for you? Like, you know, the next prompts is going to be about kind of untangling some of that. So I do want to get into that, and I know like Tree is like right now up against it. But yeah, let's take a look, because I do want to say more about kind of that aspect of it. I'm actually going to skip ahead and get to this one. So what are some rules that you set for yourself? What are some rules that you set for yourself? A lot of Tree says, I want to experience enthusiasm in everything I do. Some days I'm proud of myself, then other days I think, who do I think I am? Yeah, that imposter pops up. Like, who am I to be out here doing this? We want to experience enthusiasm. So I guess one question is, to what degree is it necessary that you have to feel like doing something in order to do it? How much do you have to feel like doing something in order to do it? And I think this is sort of where rules come into play, because I think if it's a rule, it doesn't like depend on your feelings. It's just like, okay, well, this is just what I do, ready or not. So we got some folks sharing what some rules that they set for themselves. Dorfy Dorf says, never give anything but your best, no matter what. No matter what. Never give anything but your best. Okay. That's a strong rule. I guess depending what you define as your best and exactly what that means for you, how does it make you feel? So how does that rule relate to your procrastination, do you think? Do you think there is a correlation between procrastination and having a rule that says you always have to be at your very best? Isn't that that's a pretty high bar, right? How do you navigate that? Alexa says, my rule is to put myself out there and pretend people will find me interesting, because that's what I've read for making friends. So I'm gonna put myself out here and act like, you know, they like me. They think I'm cool. So I'm just gonna act like you think I'm cool. I could tell. I think that a lot of times when we are dealing with some, when we have social anxiety or we have some challenges interacting with people for a variety of reasons, whether it's tied to just the way we're wired, neurologically or whether it's related to something that we experienced growing up, it's a challenge. So we just have to, we have to think about the rules that we have and the way that they're serving us. The rules are great. They feel like they're masters, but really they're servants. Especially if you're the one who set it up, right? Abyssal Chicken says, don't let myself be stepped on. I only live once, so it's not worth being treated poorly to get ahead. So you're not going to step on me. That's powerful. Noble says, do the best job, regardless of the job that you're doing. Dorothy Dorf says, I was trying to get more products before I started the business. So that's an interesting idea. Having more products before you start. Maybe that's a good idea. Or you could be like some of the biggest companies in the world and just have one product. And then, see what happens from there. That's an alternative. It's just an alternative. Chino says, my rule is don't go back to the old me. So you don't want to lose the progress that you've made. I'm just kind of as a heads up today, a lot of these prompts are going to be a little challenging, and I'm going to prod you a little bit on it. These are just ideas and thoughts. Ultimately, it's your life, and you choose to proceed however you like. But I'm going to provoke you a little bit, if you don't mind, with your permission. All right. Kaloli says, don't let the actions or reactions of others change you and what you are working towards. As long as you are doing it with a pure heart, you do you. My only rule right now is not to repeat the past. Gotta move forward. I feel that. I've been down that road before, so let's not do that again. We already know better than that, right? We know better than that. Well, generally, okay, so Dorothy says generally one type of product, but it's many handcrafted products. I could dig it. I guess my question is, how much do you actually need to start? If that's keeping you, if that's holding you back, is it holding you back? Noble says, you know who you are. Don't let others download lies or inaccurate info about you into your head. I think we do typically have some idea. In some ways, we are a mystery to ourselves. If we're not present and checked in, sometimes we are a mystery to ourselves. But you are the only one who's always around to see. And as long as you are honest with yourself, I think that's probably a good rule. Kalola says, hey, you don't have to just follow the beat of your own drum or DAW or whatever it is you make beats with. So Noble says, I've had years on my own to learn exactly who I am, and now I am confident. Confident is a great way to move through space. I love that. All right. So the whole point of bringing up the rules is If it's a rule, in some ways, rules kind of emerge from our values and our experiences. They are sort of the guides that we set. Sometimes they are stated, sometimes they are implied. There's decisions that we've made kind of ahead of time when we face certain situations. And I think it's always worth evaluating, coming back to, and challenging how these rules are working out. They're not permanent. They are up for debate if you are growing, if you're continuing to grow and continuing to learn and expanding your sense of what's possible, then it's worthwhile to take a look at some of the rules that you set for yourself and see, well, does this still apply? Is this making me better? Is it making me, is it serving the purpose that now sits before me? I think sometimes when we get stuck, we are putting ourselves in it's a self-inflicted imprisonment to a rule that you set or a code that you set that you're trying to stay consistent to that no longer really applies to the person that you're trying to become. A lot of times, people have a code that works for them in one phase of their life, and then they try to kind of transcend that part of it, and they want to stay loyal to, the paradigm that they're moving away from. And sometimes it don't work. Sometimes you need to update and upgrade those rules. They might be causing you a lot of misery and needless suffering. So you have your rules. It's important to have them, but it's also important to examine them, especially the ones that kind of create unrealistic expectations of what you're capable of. I think that you can set extremely high standards for yourself. Standards that are so high that it guarantees that you never actually ship your work. Standards so high that it'll shut you down, that are beyond your level of current skill and ability. And the result is you stay stuck. You're incapacitated because you can never make it as good as it could be in your imagination, that whatever it turns out to be in reality will be imperfect. At least now, at least when you're getting started, it's never quite going to measure up to that ideal in your head. So sometimes that rule that we set is just a tool to create incapacity. It's an elaborate scheme to avoid what's possible and stay safe in the nice, cozy world, perfect world of what you imagine could be. So if that's doing that to you, if it's creating some stress, if it's keeping us away from, if it's stopping us from having something from you that would make our lives better, it's great for us. It's exactly what we need, but it's not good enough for you somehow. So we don't get to get it. That sucks for us. And in the long run, it might suck for you as well, because maybe that's where you stay in that space. So the tallest gnome is here, and Queen Werewolf. Thank you so much for joining this morning. We're talking about rules that we set. Everybody's kind of thinking about that right now. So, we'll give a second to ponder that. All right. If we're ready to kind of skip back, a lot of what's possible for us is sort of determined by our emotional state. One of the things that Tree said was, I want to feel enthusiasm. And when you kind of in a negative spiral, it's hard to hook on to that. So sometimes there are things that we need to do outside of the task that will kind of reset our vibration a little bit, and that will energize us and give us a better shot at actually making things happen. So if you're ready to go into the next prompt or the previous prompt, go ahead and drop me a heart in the chat and we can move in that direction. All right, let's do it then. So here's a question. What would bring more joy into your daily life? What would bring more joy into your daily life? I think that whenever you're facing something that's challenging, if there is some ambient joy, I think a lot of times when we're in the middle of struggling with things, that struggle gets our full attention. And it's almost like we don't even give ourselves permission to experience joy. Sometimes we put that off because we are under the pressure of producing something or doing something. And as long as this is undone, I cannot allow myself to feel good. I have to suffer through this whole thing. And I don't know if that's a great strategy. So let's take a second and think about some things that would bring more joy into your daily life. Chill Moth Girl is here. Welcome in. It's nice to have you. Let us know what would bring more joy into your daily life. Noble Ancient starts us off. The right kind of treasures from the most unlikely sources in my day's adventure. Yeah, but what do you mean by that? Hopefully to answer this question, hopefully can turn into something that you can actually do that's not related to chance, something that you can proactively create for yourself. More people in my life who genuinely like me. I know I'm quirky, but it's hard to understand how I'm bad enough to be alone like I am. So, having better connections with people who genuinely like you is something that would bring more joy. You feel isolated right now, and it's hard to understand why. And I guess the double-edged sword with a challenge like that is, in order to have those connections, it's like an emotional risk to put yourself out there, right? So that's a tough one, right? You have to risk the very thing that you want to experience least, which is the potential for a rejection or a heartbreak of some sort in order to get what you want or what would bring you more joy. And I think some of that feeling that you are talking about is a story that you're telling. And, sometimes we need to challenge those stories. It seems to be the case that from everything that I see and the way that I see it, nobody thinks I'm cool enough to be cool with. But maybe that's not entirely true. Tim is here. Welcome in, Tim. It's good to see you this morning. We're talking about the things that would bring more joy into your daily life. Tree says coffee, food, and a child. Coffee, food, those are two probably easier ones to check off. I know the other one is something that you've talked about a lot before. That one takes a little bit more doing. Dorothy Dorf says, it would bring more joy to my daily life if I stopped stressing over things that I can't control and not letting the tiniest details ruin the beauty of life. the tiny, having one thing not perfect just ruins everything. Yeah. I can definitely appreciate that sentiment. It's hard to let go of the idea that something can be flawless. Sometimes it takes kind of a shift in our understanding and a shift in our, a shift in the story of what it means to be beautiful. Kaloli says that one thing that would make my daily life better is more beach days. More beach days would make my life better. Man, when was the last time I've been to the beach? Alexis says that changing my inner dialogue to one of caring, compassion, and kindness would make my life have a little more joy. So sometimes the voice in our head can rob us of our joy. So if we could start saying some new things to ourselves inside, that might make things a little more joyful for us. The Tallest Gnome says, life has been lacking joy for some time. If I could learn to be vulnerable with people, I mask a lot. So if you could take off the mask, if you felt safe enough to take off the mask, it might bring you more joy in your daily life, maybe more connection in your daily life. I think we instinctively have an understanding, whether it's through our experience, times in the past where we have experienced at least a spark of joy. We know some of the answers to the question. And I guess the first step is understanding and appreciating the fact that you deserve to experience joy. Even in your imperfect and incomplete state, joy is still something that is available for you and something that you are worthy of experiencing. Even in your fallenness and brokenness, or whatever words you choose to describe your situation, joy is still a possibility, and it's a powerful tool to help you elevate your vibration, elevate your state so that you can do better. Sometimes we feel like if I did better, I would feel better, but sometimes you need to feel better so that you can do better. I think that's usually the case, so you have to allow yourself that possibility. And her nickname says, mad stacks of cash would bring joy into my daily life. All right. Nothing wrong with having a little extra, having a little something extra in your pocket. I guess the biggest thing though is, what would you do with it? What is it that money what possibility would that cash unlock for you? Because, the money's just numbers and paper or whatever. I think the real impact is what is, what is provided from that. So making things a little easier, it's just like removing some of the stress. Sometimes there are decisions that we make because of money that maybe we wouldn't make otherwise. So in her nickname says, I'd buy power to change everyone's perception to suit my peanut butter making agenda. Yeah, you want to sway public opinion. You want to change hearts and minds regarding the importance, the central role that peanut butter plays in our, in our social fabric. I love it. Yeah. I don't, maybe there's something diabolical about that, but I can't come up with what it might be. I don't see how that could go wrong. Sometimes people have ideas and you can say, well, peanut butter, what could go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? I don't know. Maybe somebody can give me an idea. Yeah, who knows? Maybe peanut butter might help. Okay, so here's a question for you. Creamy or crunchy with the peanut butter? What's the deal? Are we doing it crunchy peanut butter? Both of them. I want both of them. I get my peanut butter with no sugar added. Yeah. I Don't Know is here, and Cooper family has also joined us. Thank you so much, folks. I really appreciate you for joining our conversation right now. We're talking about the things that would bring us more joy. And I think that choose a nickname, enter a nickname, has given us something to think about. So Cooper family says, I'm in a further differentiation to heal the Cooper family. Thank you for your support. All right. Maybe as we go, we'll learn more what that's about. If y'all are ready, we can move our conversation on to the next question. I think I'm ready. Once again, I'd like to thank everyone who's watching and who's tolerating my sepia tone today and the little flickers and the imperfections in the color in the video. Hopefully we'll have it sorted out by tomorrow. Seems my webcam gave up the ghost. Nevertheless, we are here. I'm glad to see Juno maybe getting ready to go to school, joining us for a few moments. It's always great to have you. We're getting ready to go into the next prompt. If y'all are cool with that, let's go ahead and do it. All right. All right, so here we go. So what is one area of your life that you've been neglecting, that you want to take better care of? Or something that you want to take better care of? So Dorothy Dorf says, I've been neglecting shadow work, trying to be integrated, a little more integrated. So Cooper family says, my office life and all my office correspondence, there's nothing more 50s. Well, I don't know, maybe there's nothing more 19th century than falling behind and neglecting correspondence. Cooper family, you need to get on top of that. So, Abyssal Chicken says, hobbies. It's super easy for me to neglect my hobbies because of stress and negative emotions. Yeah, it is. It's easy to not give yourself permission to explore those, especially when you feel like you don't have time. When really, the hobbies are the antidote to your stress and negative emotions. It's funny. It's funny how we exclude joy from our experience for whatever reason. So Noble says, I've been neglecting the joints in my system and their ever pained parts. Them joints. Dorothy says, sound like you need a little oil. Abyssal says, I think it has to do with fear of losing that joy. Can't lose it if you don't have it. Can't lose it if you don't have it. Yeah, it's like, if this is not going to last, why? Why bother if it won't last? I think that's an idea that, many of us have experienced before. If it's not going to last, then why bother? I guess the fact that nothing lasts kind of brings that thought into a different perspective, and how the degree that we need for something to last to make it worthwhile. I think what makes things special are the fact that they don't last. It pulls you into appreciation of the present when we know that, like, it's a rare thing. So, I don't know. It's a tough one, right? It's a tough one. Tree says, I've been neglecting my weight. I bring it down and stay there for months to years. I still have ways to go, but I get frustrated. So it's like an ongoing part of your experience to deal through that. Kaloli says, I'm falling asleep. Okay, Kaloli, I got you, huh? These chill vibes finally starting to kick in. So let's see here. Tallest Gnome says, I neglect myself. I'm slowly figuring out how to care for myself. It takes some time, right? It does take some time. I think like the first step, again, and kind of coming back to where we were earlier in the conversation, the first step is, recognizing that you are worth taking care of. And then you got to figure out how to do it. You got to try things and figure out how to make that work for you. So Chino says, exercise and eat better. I've been neglecting my diet and not been moving enough. So you want to make that better. So Tim says, I've been neglecting my pet cat. She wants to play and needs a bath. That sounds wrong, but I swear it's not. Okay. I get it. Yeah. Gotta take care of our pets. They do so much for us. Gotta take care of them, right? So one area of your life. One of the lights went out. Tree's picking up what you're putting down, Tim. Tree's picking up what you're putting down. Like, yo, Tim's like, that was a bar. That was real slick. Ain't nobody gonna say nothing. We hear you. All right. So, like I said, I guess recognizing that you are worth it is the first step, and then figuring out exactly what you need to do. And being kind and gentle with yourself as you figure it out. Sometimes one of the things as we grow, we learn things about what makes stuff better. There's no manual that says exactly how it needs to go. It's hard to remember that you're worth it when it feels like nobody else thinks so. Yeah, I think that our connections do inform our opinions of ourselves, sometimes to an unhealthy degree. There could be a lot of evidence around us to the contrary when we try to connect with what our worth is. And if we want to feel good about who we are and what's possible for us, and if we want to kind of acknowledge our value, and then you look around and there's a lot of evidence to the contrary, it can be an uphill battle. But yeah, I guess that's sort of what the work is, and sometimes what we have to do is act in advance of that feeling to create some new evidence. Like starting now, a lot of times what we are thinking about is related to our understanding of our past experiences. But as soon as you start creating in advance of the way you feel, you create evidence, so you don't have to believe something to be true that you've already demonstrated to be true for you. So a baseline decent blob. Oh, hey Jay. I didn't catch the new name. Warrior is here as well. Thank you so much for joining us. We're talking about the things that we've been neglecting. And a baseline decent blob says, I've been neglecting my physical health and schoolwork. Oh no. Get to work. Not both of them. I mean, if you're gonna skip out on the schoolwork, at least do it for the sake of your health. But it's okay. You recognize that you've fallen off, and you're making a choice to say, okay, let's get better, let's get healthy, and then let's deal with what's going on. All right. So let's get ready to go into the next prompt. Tim, thank you so much for the like. I appreciate you. Let's go to the next one. Drop a heart in the chat if you're ready to do that. We've already passed the top of the hour. This session has felt a little different for me. I don't know if for those of you who are usually here, this session has felt different for me. Maybe it's a little bit different for you as well. Let me know. Does this feel a little different today? I think it feels different for me because I'm kind of preoccupied with, my technical issues. But yeah, let me know. If you've been here before, does this feel different? All right. But I hope it's not different in a bad way. I hope it's useful still. All right, let's go ahead to the next one. So this one, we're talking about, I mentioned it before, we're talking about stories. What is a story that you're carrying that no longer serves you? Because I think all of the perceptions that we have of our value, the things that we think we are capable of, the way that other people think about us, there are the things that happen, but there's also the reality. Well, there's there's the events, but then there's the story that you've strung together. It's impossible for us to take in everything about what's happening around us. We have a filter, and we make meaning of the situations of our life based on something that we've come to believe over time. It's not necessarily true what happened in the real sense. It's the story that we tell about what happens that has the biggest impact on us. So what is the story that you're carrying that no longer serves you? So a baseline decent blob says that I'm not good enough and the worst case scenario will happen. Worst case. So let me say something to you. I'm going to baseline blob. That's what you're calling yourself. That's what I'm going to call you. I know that a big part of your personality, from my experience of you, is there is a level of kind of creative freedom that you express that was something that was really, that I really enjoyed immediately upon encountering you on here. But it's always kind of tempered with a self-deprecation that kind of is kind of a weird paradox. You are one of the most freest creatives that I've encountered. At the same time, you don't necessarily give yourself the credit that you deserve for how unique and rare that is. And I noticed that, and I'm intrigued by it. And I guess that there is a story behind it. So hopefully as you kind of think through the way that you described it, the story that you're not good enough is not serving you, there might be other things kind of deeper in that. So, but I just want you to know that I appreciate you. And despite the fact that I get a million notifications from you every day, I'm still following along with your story. So you're definitely good enough for me. So we got Cyber Shots over on YouTube. What's up, Cyber Shots? We're talking about the story that no longer serves you. And Noble Ancient says the original story as to why I build games, it's one I need to change or rewrite. So the reason that you told yourself, or the reason that you build games, is no longer serving you for the next phase of the adventure. The Tallest Gnome says, people in my past have told me that I'm not worthy, and most days, I still believe it. People tell me that I'm not worthy, and sometimes I still believe it. Yeah, that's an unfortunate thing to believe, right? But here we are. We struggle with it. It's like we have to constantly reiterate and reinvent and reimagine our possibilities. And a lot of times is the hard thing is the effort involved is sometimes is effort in absence of the motivation, in absence of the clarity, in absence of all the sort of the tools that we would want to have to try something. Sometimes they're not there. It's almost like you have to step out on faith that if I get started somehow, if I can somehow manage to take the first step, somewhere along the way, the muse will join me. The motivation will join me. Maybe not the first time. Maybe not every time. But once in a while, you might get swept up in that. And any time that it happens, any indication, any evidence that reinforces the best of what you can be, hang on to that, because it's just as true as any negative thing that you believe about yourself because of what happened before. It doesn't carry less weight because it's good. Sometimes we put more weight on what's bad or what's negative. It feels truer, it feels realer, and more in alignment with who we believe we are. But the good things that we do and the positive change that we make, the growth that we experience, those things are all true evidence that you can tap into as well, legitimately. And it's not, and at that point, once you've done it even a little bit, then that's a reality that can challenge the stories that are holding you back. So, yeah, that part. Okay. If we're ready, would you like to go to the next prompt? I would love to take you there if you're down for it. We still got some more coming in. Let me make sure I didn't miss any while I was kind of pontificating. So Abyssal Chicken says the story that there's something fundamentally wrong with me is not serving me any longer. Yeah, that one doesn't work. The story of holding on to pain and believing that I deserved it is no longer serving me. That I deserve the pain that I experience. That doesn't work. All right. Let's take a deep breath, and let me just say a few words of appreciation to everyone who is in the chat. Whenever you see a story about a person here, the stories that they're sharing, some of us have direct experience with each other, and we know them not to be, like, we have proof that these stories aren't true because of our own experiences with each other. When someone says that no one, values me, or that you don't deserve things, maybe there's things that you've given people in this very space right now that says, well, I'm somebody and I value you. And this has been my experience with you. So maybe that's not 100% true. And, we can continue to take steps to put a chink in that armor of false beliefs that we have about ourselves. It's a great place to be. All right. Keep thinking about those stories anytime something comes up. Like, is this true or is this just a story? Most of the time it's a story. Most often. But, okay. Let's get ready to go to the next prompt. A lot of times, the trouble, like situations in our life, kind of create our beliefs about things. So let's take a look at trouble. What type of trouble do you keep getting into? A lot of times the stories that we tell keeps us in a cycle of choices, that we repeat. And if you can take a look and kind of put your finger on this pattern, there might be an answer in that. So Steve is here from the Hold Up TV. Let us know, Steve, what type of trouble do you keep getting into? That's the question of the moment. We are on 2222 today. We on them twos. It's 2222. And I'm glad to have you here for session number 198 of the Morning Journal. I appreciate your time and attention and your engagement and the emotional labor that you bring to this space and the way that you show up and the way that you show up for each other. Thank you, Steve. Y'all just let me be out here like that. Steve, the only one that's gonna say something. Y'all gotta let me know, baby. Or maybe Steve just need to turn up his joint. I don't know. All right. Okay, so Abyssal Chicken says that the behavioral addiction, needing to self-soothe in lieu of actual therapy, leads to overindulgence. So the behavioral addiction is something that you get in trouble with. A baseline decent blob says, I keep arguing with people I love when I'm upset and unproductive. Well, you know what, Noble, you said I sound found to you. It could be the fact that Steve might have lost his, he's got one earbud in, and I'm coming through in stereo. So my voice might be coming through loud and clear in that one earbud that he lost. I don't know. So, getting the type of trouble that you keep getting into, picking fights with people that you love when you're upset. You feel like you're causing damage to relationships with the way that you lash out at people. All right. Recognizing patterns is a powerful part of, it's a powerful tool for breaking them. Recognizing that's where you are is a huge first step. Because sometimes we're just not conscious. We need to make explicit our implicit behaviors. So Steve is back now. Maybe, hey Steve, what's up? Can you hear me now? I mean, I made some adjustments, but let me know. You came back in the chat. Okay. All right. I mean, I might have been a little back in the mix a little bit. Maybe I'm not. Okay, it was you. Okay. All right. You had Clubhouse open. Look at you, all over the place. All over the dang on place. So Chino says addiction, snapping at friends and family. Ooh, the list goes on. And I take responsibility for it. That's a powerful thing to do, Chino. Taking responsibility for it is a powerful thing to do. So you see that you do it. Maybe at some point you can start to recognize the triggers for it. Like what is it that brings me to this place? Trish is here. Hi, Trish. Good morning. Let us know what type of trouble you keep getting into. Cooper says, thank you. Well, you are welcome. I know sometimes, I know that we are here live and it is a space that I hope that you feel comfortable sharing your experience with us. But this can be valuable even if you just think about it or reflect on it privately. You can always swipe over to the right to move the chat over, take a screenshot and come back and think about some of these questions later if you think it would be something that's helpful. Cooper is out. Well, it was nice meeting you, Cooper. We'll be back tomorrow morning. We do this every Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. So if that's a vibe you can get with, I'd love to see you. Thank you for being here. So Tallest Gnome says it's a mix of unworthy, neglect, loneliness, and shame. It diminishes the importance of life. Bowser is here. Welcome in, Bowser. Nice to have you here. We're talking a little bit about trouble. And, it's kind of tied into our, the trouble sometimes is tied into a story that we are telling ourselves. We are, it's like we're living in this story and we want to stay true to this character that we've created based on the way that we understand ourselves, the things that we believe about ourselves. So Bowser used to be Foxy. Okay. Well, it's nice to have you back. So everybody, if you want to take a second now to put some green hearts in the chat, that would be appropriate at this moment. Because my mom is here. My mom is listening. So you can say hi to Retha. So Trish, you've been very sick, but you're doing way better. I'm glad to know that. Glad to know that you're feeling better. All right. So maybe we're in the middle of some trouble that we always get into. And it's a little challenging to kind of think about it. But, if it's something that always happens, it takes on an air of inevitability. But I think that it's important to know that you still have choices. You have a role in creating that experience for yourself. And a different choice at a critical moment is all it takes to break a cycle. Sometimes a difficult choice at a critical moment is what's needed to break a cycle. AC says, I'm staring at a leftover, trying to remember that I'm quitting. A lot of times we have to engineer our environment in such a way that we are more likely to be successful in the experience we're trying to create for ourselves. Nobody's built to have to fight temptation all the time. So, all right. So what do y'all think? How's everyone feeling right now? If we're ready to go into the next prompt, you can definitely drop a heart in the chat. If you want to sit with this one for a minute, we can do that as well. You just let us know. Trish is going to make some coffee. Appreciate you. Trish used to bring me coffee every morning, but I don't know, somehow I feel like she forgot about me. So I've been having to do that for myself. So go ahead and make me a cup too, Trish. I guess if you're still about that. All right. Thank you, Noble. She stopped because she felt unappreciated. I know sometimes you got to tell people, you got to recognize people for the efforts, the things that they do to make your life better. You got to let them know, hey, thank you for that. Your doing that means something to me, and I appreciate it. You got to let people know that you appreciate them, or else You take people for granted and then they leave your life and you're wondering why. Well, that's how it be sometimes. I'm getting over it though. Better day by day, day by day, I'm getting over it. I'm stronger every day. All right. So let's take a look. Coffee is a true love language, for sure. Coffee that is lovingly prepared and presented to you. When it just kind of, that is definitely an act of service that is indicative of an intimate connection of sorts, because you kind of starting your day with that person one way or another. I think people have crushes on their baristas sometimes just because of the role that they play in improving the start of their day. So, Oh, a baseline decent blob says, I have a crush on a barista. It's your little latte boy. So the question is in the background. I haven't read it out loud, but you can kind of see it. So let's see what you think about it. What have you spent a lot of time on that hasn't produced any impact in the last 6 months? I think we sometimes have expectations of what, we're familiar with cause and effect. Like, we do something, if we do this, then this thing will happen. And I think that we are habituated or kind of conditioned for instant gratification, sort of kind of because of the way the world is set up. We expect things on a timeline that might not be accurate to what it actually takes to make it happen. So, first off, our measurement and our expectations may be skewed by sort of our unrealistic assessment of what it actually takes. But also, we might be banging our head against the wall. So let's see. Abyssal Chicken says, self-care is something. I can try to build myself up all I like, but sometimes the only way to make it is luck. The world is a regular meat grinder. So, so you feel like there isn't a level to which you can build yourself, that you won't be ground to bits. I will admit, there's a lot that is going on out there. There's so much that's going on out there that we are under the impression that what's going on out there is more important and more relevant than what's going on in here. Everything that I've learned indicates that that's not the case. It's hard to imagine that with everything that's happening in the world, that the thing that matters most is what's happening in your world and inside your own self, in your mind. But it seems to be the case. And if we look through, we have this unique capacity as human beings to have wildly different experience living in the same external circumstances. There are people who are experiencing joy in the midst of what would seem to be unbearable circumstances. And somehow there's still laughter there. Somehow there's still hope there. And there are people who are existing in what would seem to be the ideal conditions, and they can't summon the will to live. So with that being the case, it can be true that the world is a meat grinder, but that doesn't preclude the possibility of joy. That just seems to be true from everything that I've seen. And it's a lot of hard work in shifting the way that we perceive things. And it's not to invalidate or belie the reality of the situation. It's just in a way of affirming how much power exists inside of us to create our experience in spite of what's going on around us. And how valuable it is to try to do that, especially if you intend to make those situations better. There's nothing that's served by you feeling bad about being in a bad situation. It might seem to be the appropriate way to feel, but if you got some inkling that you can make a difference, it doesn't serve you to stay there. And that's sort of the gig, right? That's sort of the human gig, is managing that emotion and clinging to or getting a hold of a sense of possibility and letting that propel us forward a little bit. I won't pretend like it's easy, but I invite you to consider the possibility that it could be true. So And I will admit too, when you said meat grinder, the first thing that came up to me is MF Doom, just because that's who I am. So we're definitely gonna play meat grinder during the VIP session. So you'll see where I'm coming from. So Tim says, I've spent not time, but money on my business, and it hasn't produced any impact. I guess that could be frustrating. For sure. Misallocation of resources can be, is a killer if you haven't put it in the places that it need to be. So a baseline decent blob says, getting long-term employment is something you've spent time in and it hasn't really done it for you yet. Noble Ancient says, I've been spending time on ruminating on events that has no effect on me for any good reasons. They need to go so that I can open up and get going again. So rumination is something that hasn't been working out. Kiki, do you love me? Is here? Are you riding? Seems to be the case that you are. It's good to see you again. We're talking about the things that we've invested time in that haven't really panned out thus far. So Tallest Gnome says, pushing through the day has caused severe burnout. Now I'm sick and unable to work. Sometimes pushing through isn't the right answer. Sometimes you need a rest. And after resting, you see things more clearly and you can actually make some things happen. I feel that, Tallest Gnome. All right. So we were talking about, feeling like we're banging our head against the wall. It's hard to tell when it's time for a change. It could be the case that what it is that you're pursuing is the wrong thing. Maybe it is time to let it go and move in a different direction. They say One quote that's attributed to Einstein is, repeating the same thing and expecting a different result is a definition of insanity. So, sorting between perseverance and grit and, something that you need to let go, it's a hard thing, because quitting, we might have a story about quitting that keeps us in a perpetual cycle of underperforming, a perpetual cycle of not getting where we want to go because we're committed to a doomed path. Now, I can't answer for you whether it's time to move on. That's something that you have to kind of search within yourself. But it's always important to remember why it is that you've been putting forth this effort. If the reason that you started doesn't matter to you anymore, honestly, sometimes you can just keep going because that's what you do. That's what you've been doing. It just kind of created a certain level of momentum in your life. So you just kind of keep rocking with it. Those are the things that I want you to really think about. Now, if it's just a long-term goal that is natural to expect that it's going to take time and maybe it's not moving, it's not happening as fast as I would like for it to happen, but I am seeing some growth. I am seeing some sort of indication of progress. I am learning as I go. Then the answer might be, okay, drive on, keep pushing. But, it could be the case that, hey, I'm just doing the wrong thing right now. So being willing to sit with that dilemma and honestly take a look at what your, the decisions that you're making in a way that you are allocating your resources of time and energy and creativity, and say, hey, is this right? All right. Everybody, let's take a quick deep breath. Let me say a quick reminder. It is session number 198. So 2 days from now, we're going to be doing Morning Journal session 200. And boy, oh boy, that's 200. I don't know. I'm hoping it's going to be a cool experience. I got a couple ideas of what I would like to do for session number 200. I definitely have some songs and some music that I want to bring into the experience as we reflect on the way Morning Journal has evolved over these sessions. So if you're here now, and if you know anybody who's ever kind of hung out here, let them know, hey, stop through and say what's up on Friday. Go holla at G. He's doing something special for episode number 200. I also want to remind you that if you haven't already subscribed to the Morning Journal on YouTube, let's go ahead and do that. Let's see if we can get that number up a little bit. And also, there is a newsletter that includes some of these prompts with some of the commentary as well. So, if you want me in your inbox, there's a link right there in the notice. You can subscribe to Substack for the Morning Journal newsletter. You'll get, some prompts and some commentary, maybe a few insights that I want to share or ideas that I want to share, just as a way to stay connected to what's going on here. And just another way to, if you want to help us grow here, it's an easy way to kind of share what's happening here with folks who might not be on an app where they can check it out live. They can still benefit from, the conversations that we have here. All right. So here we go. If we're ready to go to the next prompt, go ahead and drop a heart in the chat for me. I really appreciate you for all of your time and attention here this morning. And this is sort of a way that we can wrap things up for our conversation today. We've been doing a lot of exploration, and a lot of things that we brought up might be a little challenging to think about. So as we wrap things up, let's think about ways that you can love yourself a little better today. I know sometimes it seems like love ain't working the way that you need for it to, but it's worth it. Little ways to love yourself a little bit better today. Hannah is here. Good morning, Hannah. Trish's coffee is hitting differently. This coffee is hitting differently. Oh man. You know, I think there should be a grammatically sensitive remix of that song. It hits differently. It hits differently. Giselle is here. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. I hope that you're doing well. Tell us a way that you can love yourself a little better today. AC says, I can do something I love. Abyssal Chicken can do something that you love. That's a great start. Guilt-free. You know? Do it guilt-free. Noble says, I can love myself a little bit better today by getting rest and finding fun things to sharpen my mind with. A baseline decent blob says, I can do something I'll be proud of myself for getting done. And also positive music. Got it. I know you got that K-pop playlist popping off, you know? So maybe that could be something that can lift your spirits a bit. Yeah. We want to find ways that we can love ourselves a little bit better and remind ourselves and demonstrate to ourselves in no uncertain terms that we are worthy and worth taking care of. Showing ourselves some compassion. Holding ourselves, with unconditional positive regard. Recognizing that we are imperfect, but we are imperfectly perfect. And then just keep getting better, you know? Trish has the opinion that K-pop is the best. I don't think that's necessarily a controversial opinion since it's held by so many. You know, though I do disagree. K-pop is alright at best. It's alright. I know I might lose some folks, but hey, it is what it is, y'all. What do you want me to tell you? Trish is trying to sell me K-pop like I haven't heard the right songs. It's all right, yo. I mean, what you want me to say? I've heard some good songs. Don't try to sell me K-pop. Don't try to sell me K-pop. Come on now. All right, a couple more minutes. Let us know. What are some ways that you can love yourself a little better today? Apparently, Trish thinks I can love myself better by listening to the right K-pop song. I mean, I have a few favorites, but I'm not just going to sit there and listen to these, I'm not just going to sit there and listen to these folks. That's not the phase of my life that I'm in right now, that I need to be listening to that. So Trish says, I can love myself better by downloading all my music Tallest Gnome says, I want to thank you. I've not slept in 3 days and this is helping. Well, I'm glad. Glad that you're going to get some sleep. Sleep is so important. Hey, Steve liked alive. How about that? Thank you, Steve. I appreciate you. All right. So, all right, it's that time, folks. We're going to get ready to do our outro, and we'll have a couple minutes left in the VIP. Thank y'all for being here. It's been a Wednesday. It's been a Wednesday. And I you are part of, you make this experience what it is. I try to show up for you and with you, and together we create whatever this turns into. And I've learned to appreciate whatever that turns out to be and operate under the assumption that this what it is, what it needed to be for the people who are here with me. And I thank and appreciate all of you. We got Tree up in here, probably taking a little nap, and AC finally made it back. I'm glad to have you back here with me. Abyss of Chicken. We've been missing you. Chino is here. Thanks for always showing up in all of your openness. It means a lot. It adds a lot. And I'm grateful. Oyo is in the place to be. What's happening? Thank you. I know some people get creeped out when they see you looking back and forth, but I know what time it is. I'm glad that you're with us. Tallest Gnome, thank you so much for being here and finding us and sharing with us. Yeah, you really appreciate it. And I hopefully, you can stay connected and continue to grow with us, because we're all growing. We're all trying to figure things out. So I'm grateful for you. Noble Ancient is here. Plugging along. It's great to have you. I appreciate your perspectives, my friend. Alexis Autumn Elf is here as well. Trish is back finally, bringing me coffee. Alexis, I haven't seen or heard in a minute. It's like, maybe Alexis is chilling. And what's up, Harley, if you're listening in? Trish brought some coffee today, so maybe I'll be all right. I can get over the heartbreak of not having you around. Steve is here from the Hold Up TV. Thank you for stopping through, taking time out of your busy schedule and crazy creative schedule to come and hang out with us. Shout out to Tim. You already know. You already know. And a baseline decent blob. A couple folks might have popped in the middle of me saying the name, so I didn't see you on the list. So if you just got here, hang out for a minute. We got a couple minutes in the VIP.